If you think closing is all about pressure, it's not. It's about certainty and clarity and creating certainty. If you're talking to your prospects and trying to convince them or doing anything other than building absolute certainty, what you're doing is you're talking your prospects into confusion instead of leading them into a decision. If you continue doing that, you'll keep losing more deals. Now, let me show you how we fix this. The truth is that most salespeople lose the sale not because what they didn't say, but because of what they kept on saying. They talked themselves right out of the deal. When you're uncertain at the close, if you're not sure how to wrap up the deal, the client mirrors your uncertainty. They feel your hesitation, and it gives them permission to stall. If your closing strategy is to try to pressure them or to kind of use neurolinguistic programming to force them into an either-or decision, oftentimes that either-or decision is them choosing to tell you, let me think about it. See, your energy teaches them how to feel, and that leads to indecision. And that indecision, all the way through the call, leads to contagious indecision. See, closing isn't a pressure point. It's not some point you're trying to lead them to. It happens in the very first 4 seconds. It's that clarity. It's the certainty point, the clarity point. If your offer isn't clear, if your process isn't clear, if you can't communicate the value proposition clearly, if your ask isn't clear, guess what? The prospect has no safe place to land for certainty. So you know what they do? They default to the comfort zone of not now. Let me think about it. Let me, talk it over with the board. Let me check with my wife. Let me check with my husband. See, the moment you start over-explaining, repeating benefits or features, or talking just to fill in space, you go off to Pluto. And when you're off in Pluto, their level of certainty is dissolving right in front of your face. Every pitch, every word you say, every reason you open your mouth, every question you ask should lead somewhere, and it should lead to certainty. And if you can't lead to certainty, if what you're saying doesn't move them to absolute emotional or logical certainty, don't even bother saying it. See, most salespeople pitch in circles, hoping that somehow the number of times they say the same thing lands with the prospect, and that the prospect is somehow suddenly going to interrupt them and say, gee, I see the light. That's not sales. That's not sales at all. See, I had to learn this the hard way. Early on, I thought telling was selling. So early in my career, I used to think that silence meant that I was supposed to keep talking, that they were waiting for me to say something brilliant, something of value. I had a prospect say to me, Paul, you've worn me out here. You've worn me out. I'm confused now. And that hit me. And I realized I had been trying to convince this guy to buy rather than building certainty about his problem and my solution. And I'm telling you, the moment I shifted into being a guide for certainty instead of, persuader du jour, my close rate jumped right through the roof. See, if the sale matters, and it does, then the close has to be practiced. And the practice begins in those first 4 seconds, and then it goes into the reason for the call, and then it goes right into intelligence gathering, and then it goes into a declaration of certainty, and then it goes into the first pitch, and then it goes into the loop and deflection of their objection. It has to be practiced. Period. It has to be internalized. See, improvising at the close is one of the fastest ways to lose the sale. Even thinking that there is a close is the fastest way to lose a sale. The close is the entire process. It communicates that you're making it up as you go along. When you ambush the sale, when you think that all this leads to the moment of the close, then all of a sudden, you shift gears. You go from, this person with rapport to breaking rapport. You go into convincer mode or persuader mode or neurolinguistic mode. And all that does is it erodes the trust at the most crucial moment. See, a scripted close isn't fake. It's what makes you faithful to the decision that they're here to make and faithful to the clarity and certainty that your client needs in that very moment of decision. A scripted process, a structured process, brings their decision to a logical conclusion. It keeps the energy grounded in the most important reason at the most important time. The most important reason is solving their problem. And the most important time is right at that final ask of, are we ready to go? Is there any other reason why you wouldn't move forward today? See, your pitch is a performance, and your close is really a leadership moment. It's a leadership moment. It's where you're saying, we've navigated all this territory, and the next step is this decisive action where we put all that we've talked about into motion. It's where you guide a client across the bridge of uncertainty towards the future they told you they wanted. I've had clients like cry during the close, not because I pressured them, but because for the first time, they were making a decision for themselves in their life. When I was selling my one-on-one mentoring, helping people break through limiting beliefs, I would have people cry because for the first time, they knew that they were making a decision that empowered them to do and make a decision for them, not for other people, not based on what other people will think of them, a decision with no fear. And what I did was I gave them a decision framework that helped them feel safe to saying yes to something that they knew in their heart that they wanted and they needed. One of the most powerful closes I ever did involved saying almost nothing. I asked the client, is there anything else you need to know to make the decision today? And then I just stopped talking. And I just held silence. 10 seconds, 20 seconds. As the time went by, the silence revealed the real hesitation. And they named it. They said what the problem was. They were afraid because they had tried so many other things that if they did this and it didn't work, what would they think of them? What would everybody think of them? And we handled that. And they signed a 5-figure mentorship deal that same day. I put something together for you before we go any further that I want you to download. It's the 17 Closing Moves Guide. 17 Closing Moves. And I created this for you. This guide is packed with word-for-word language patterns, permission-based closes that remove the pressure, builds real clarity and certainty, and takes you out of convincer mode. If you've ever stumbled at the close, if you've ever felt that moment of tension where the buyer kind of pulls back and you don't know what to say, this helps you solve that. You'll learn how to guide without pushing, how to build certainty without apologizing, and how to close with that same level of calm certainty that I use in my own conversations. These are the exact closes I've used to land clients, turn hesitation into decision, and to walk away from calls that I led with integrity. Now, my team put the link right below the description. So go ahead and download it now, print it, and keep it for every call. I guarantee you will start closing faster, with less effort, and with 1,000 times more confidence. See, the more clear you are, the easier it is for people to say yes. See, clarity is more important than information. It's a clear direction. It's certainty. It's your job to simplify the decision, not complicate it with more options or with more proof or with more logic or more features, more benefits. Oftentimes, when you're bringing up a feature or benefit, it actually brings up an objection that they didn't even have. When your offer, when your process, when your ask is crystal clear, the decision becomes obvious, inevitable. Your client doesn't need to be convinced. If they need convincing, you need training. What they need is clarity and certainty about the next step. I can tell you this, the best closers don't try to build urgency. Urgency's already there. They called you. They took the call. They spent 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes with you. The best closers lead people into urgency that they already feel. When you can reflect their desire back to them with clarity and certainty, they act. I once had a deal that didn't close on the call, but because I stayed calm and I gave the prospect total clarity and I didn't try to push, I didn't go into convincer mode, they came back 2 weeks later, fully ready to move forward. See, that sale didn't close right away, but the way I led the close allowed the safety for the prospect to have a space to come back to and say yes. Remember this, clarity and certainty close. Confusion and pressure delays. If you're not getting the sale, start by examining where your communication creates fog instead of a very clear picture of your solution in action. Your solution, them walking and living in your solution, future pacing them to an image of them living their life with your solution in play. How does that make them feel? How does that make everybody around them feel? What's the immediate benefit to them? What's the long-term benefit when this is solved? If you never really ask, then you never really sell. Most salespeople talk around the ask. They suggest, they imply, they hope. But see, the brain processes information in patterns, right? 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, C, A, T, right? The brain needs a very clear prompt and a very clear pattern. And you know what builds that? Clear questions that they begin to answer, and they start putting this puzzle together themselves. Here's a great question. Are you ready to get started? Are you ready to get started? Some people say, well, what do you want to do? Well, that's a cop-out. That one just leads to them relinquishing, their responsibility to make the decision. Are you ready to get started? Not what do you want to do? Well, what I want to do is I want to think about it. What I want to do, I want to check with my wife. What do I want to do? I want to shop around. Are you ready to get started? Yes or no? Are you ready to get started? No. Well, why? Like what's standing in your way today? See, the ask must match the offer of the energy that you're in. It's got to match. The ask and the offer have to match in energy. If you've been really bold and confident about your solution during the pitch, and then you're like hedging language during the ask, that incongruence signals to the buyer that something's not right. It just doesn't match. The energy drop causes them to pull back. Here's what a clean, confident ask sounds like. Based on everything we've discussed, I recommend the full engagement. We should go ahead and get that scheduled for you today. It's short, it's grounded, and it's confident. We should go ahead, based on everything that we've talked about. We should go ahead and get you started today. I mean, that's about as clear as it goes. The moment of that final ask is really a test of your certainty, not theirs. If you see yourself as the leader, as the authority, you ask with confidence and a boldness. But if you see yourself as a beggar, if you see yourself as grateful to be there, if your energy is, I really need this, then you tend to be timid or you tend not to ask at all. So let's end the debate. Closing is not a tactic. It's not a tactic. It's a logical conclusion to the service that you provide. When someone tells you their pain, when somebody shares their dream, when somebody shares the vision for the ideal outcome or their desire, and you know that you can help, closing isn't pressure. It's all about serving the other person and helping them get what they've told you they wanted and need. Letting a prospect off the hook isn't kindness. It's cowardice. Because it's their comfort zone. That's what's keeping them stuck. It's not the price. It's not permission. It's not validation. See, closing isn't the end of the sale. It's the beginning of their transformation. And if you don't ask for the decision, you block the change that they came to you for in the first place. Look, when I close someone, I see it as an act of service, and I tell them that. Good or bad, I tell them. I say, look, I believe in what we're going to do together. And I would be out of integrity if I let you leave this conversation stuck in the same place that you were when you came into it. See, when you can treat the close as a sacred moment, they feel it. And they follow your lead. But you've got to build to that sacred moment. They'll feel safe. They'll feel led. They'll feel heard. And people can't hear until they've been heard. And you know what they say then? They say yes. Now look, if you haven't already downloaded the 17 Closing Moves Guide, pause the video. Grab it now. It's free for you. And I can tell you, it will shift how you show up at the close, starting in your next call. And then here's what I want you to do. Go and I want you to watch the video series called Client Says, Let Me Think About It. And you say, client says, let me think about it. And you say, fill in that gap. In that one video, learning how to fill in that gap when they say, think about it, I'm going to walk you through exactly how to prevent the objection. Forget about overcoming them. I want to prevent them. I want to prevent the stall even before it happens. And what you say in that moment to bring the conversation back to clarity and commitment. The close doesn't end with the pitch. It ends when you are leading the client to a confident decision. So download the guide, watch the next video. I'll see you there.